Welcome everybody to the StreetText Mastermind. We'll officially kick it off here with some shares. And remember when you guys come on here, there's some newer agents, brand new, like right in trial, like, hey, come on and check out the StreetText community. And some of you have been with us for years. I'm gonna, Leon and Wendy and some of you other veterans on here. So Jeff, I can see I'm start seeing some faces. Adrian. So feel free just to share, and share whatever's on top of mind. And because this is the best time for you newbies to learn from some of our top performers and just kind of what they gleaned in their experience from the beginning to now. Um, because there's a lot of moving pieces, not just lead generation, not just automations and follow up and how often you follow up and what tools should you use and integrations like HomeBot. And there's so there's so much, right? As you've discovered, and some things you have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. But that's why you come here, so you don't have to learn the hard things yourself. You can kind of bypass all that. So who wants to start? Who has something they'd like to share, maybe gleam? Who was at the Bomb Bomb webinar last week? We'll start there. Yeah, did you get some good stuff from there? Yeah, pretty good, huh? That was I thought very informative. I noticed someone send me an email today, and I gave him some feedback because in my subject line I saw, you know, video from da da da, and then a bunch of numbers. It's because he put the video first in the email, so that's a first easy practical step. Never put just a video in your email. It'll collapse it and it'll make the subject line look wrong, like you're not going to get open. So you always have a little text context on top of the video, followed by text as well on the bottom of the video. That's just an easy first step for you bomb users. Always sandwich your video. That's right, Troy. Good call. Sandwich. Just remember the sandwich. All right. So enough of me talking. Who wants to share? Any shares are good shares.
I'll share.
All right, Juan, go for it.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the Bomb Bomb Masterminds when it was live, but I did get to catch it afterwards, and there were quite a few really good things that I picked up from it, especially the template thing through Bomb Bomb, at how you don't want to keep using that template over and over again. So what I did was basically started from scratch, did each video separately, because I'm at the point now, having been with you guys since late December, that I can start going back and re-hitting people over again and saying, hey, this is your new market analysis. And then I implemented everything that you guys were talking about on that Bomb Bomb Mastermind. And the engagement is totally different. So I'm finding that people are responding and to that video, the new format with the Google Earth. So it's for me, it's helping quite a bit in getting that conversation started.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about in terms of the Google Earth, I've got Leon's video right here for you. He did a fun one for us just to give you an idea. Now, Leon, you can talk about this a little bit. He was just having fun throwing some music in the background. So, and he was using me as the example.
Well, that was a challenge. If you go look at one I put in the group yesterday, I put the live one I really did.
Oh, really?
And sent it out. And yeah, and it was funny because I actually showed that one because I showed the StreetText. I went in and showed right out of StreetText. I took one of the leads and did it out of that.
Okay, so you did it yesterday. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, that way I wasn't doing the Jennifer Stock Marcus in California course and actually did something real.
Did they respond?
I don't know. I just sent it out yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to look at anything. I've been on the go, kind of seriously on the go.
You sure you shared it with us yesterday?
Yeah, it's in the insider group, okay. And
okay, here we go. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is, and you can walk us through even how to do this, Leon. But
I made a video in there that showed what I did.
Okay, so if anybody is wondering, I'll put in the announcement section of our group, so you just can go to announcements to see it. That'd
Yeah,
be.
so I did the sample video showing how to do it, and then I went back and I posted the real deal that I actually sent out using ours.
Oh, you went back. So this is the.
So there'll be two of them in there. There's the one I said, here y'all go. That one there I showed how to do it. And then if they want to go in the insider group and look at the one I put in there afterwards, I said, here's the real one.
So this is the one here. Here
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
that's the one showing how to just do it. But further down, further in there, I had one that actually I did. Was that it there?
All I see is this is the one you had from. We'll find it. One of you guys will find it. But let me just give you the example because this is the quick one you did for me. And so this is just a fun one just to show people. I think it's fun to see.
Yeah, I took one and really broke it down and showed about the tabs and showed everything in the sample one I did for the group. And then also in there, I showed when I went back and did a finished product. And it's kind of cool that you can tailor things so quick on the fly, because what I realized about the one I did yesterday and sent out is I actually know that neighborhood. I sold the lady's house that's next door to that one around the corner as well. So I'm gonna have the neighbors kind of hit them up for me, but it's just using the Google Earth and everything. It's just so quick that it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so all I want to show is the example. We won't work too long on it, but all I want to show is the example of how cool it is looking from.
Hey Marcus, how you doing?
So
This
this
is
is
Leon
looking
from the
from
Premier
a
House
wide
page.
view,
I just
and
want to
then it
reach out to you real quick to
zooms
say
in.
thank you for taking a moment to come over and see my Facebook page to ask about the value of your home. So I wanted to go ahead and just.
So that's all I wanted to share. That's the cool part. It's like you grab someone's attention, starting with the Google Earth, and Troy had video in there too in the announcement section. So just remember, when someone opens their inbox for the first time, number one, they see the subject line. That's what gets their attention, right? And usually we want to make sure the subject line has their name, because everyone loves to hear their name, as well as their home's address, right? Home, name, address, maybe a little bit about Facebook, the three together, home value, that all should be something in the subject line should catch attention. I like to see maybe one emoji in that too, because that stands out as well. Subject line is the open. Now, once they open the email, now you have literally maybe seconds, split seconds to figure out if they're going to do anything with that. So anything you can like, that's why I like the GIF component of BombBomb, because the GIF is, no matter whether they open and watch it at that moment, they're seeing these 3 seconds of something happening. 3 seconds. That's what the GIF does. It shows like this action. That's why if you're there, that's nice. But in this case, the Google Earth moving into that person's home would grab their attention. And now once they play on it, it's really up to the way you present, and then gravitating towards that presentation, right? Because that's the screen recording idea. It's a presentation.
And see, going with Alicia, what she said last week was really something eye-opening. So what I'm doing is I'm sending them out of my Gmail. And, and they thought to keep it simple. Someone in the group had posted before, they didn't want to take that long to do it. I made that thing in like 3 to 4 minutes. And that was on the fly, just thinking like, oh, how can I do this? And then in the one I did yesterday, I gave Troy the golden nugget because he sat there and I was laughing. It took me like 30 minutes. And I just gave up trying to figure something out. I'm like, I just got to call him. But simple is best. You send it out of your Gmail setup so that you don't have all your branding packaging going across, is what Alicia said, and you get more opens. And it's that fast. I like it. That's what I'm doing. It's that fast.
Yeah, so if anyone, what we're talking about is Jennifer Salter is known for her BombBomb template that we were all raving about for a long time, and evidently, I mean, it's great. But what we learned at the BombBomb conference or the webinar was it's easier just to send personally from BombBomb, or for us, we as Gmail users, just to send it there because it attaches tracking and you're more likely to get the open and the watch, practically speaking, and then trying to create templates every time. Yeah. Anyways, good small takeaway. Back to shares. So that was just something to think about. Practice yourself. Try it. Obviously, Juan is trying it and getting some good success. Until you try it, you won't know. So you have to actually practice. Practice makes perfect. And then tracking everything. Track, right? Don't just go for your cost per lead. Go for your cost per open, cost per reply, cost per click. Like, make it a game for yourself. How can you get more opens, more video plays, more clicks, because you're looking for that click, and most importantly, replies. So the holy grail of the video, or excuse me, of the email in my mind, is open, play, click, reply. And so if anybody can get good at that, you're going to be finding yourself in a lot of appointments. Okay, keep sharing. Or I'm just going to start randomly calling on people. I can see starting with people's faces.
I have a share.
Go for
So
it.
I had a 3-month email go out, and it's just the very basic email that's in the funnel. And he replied and said, this home is going to be up for rent in July. Do you have anybody that would want to lease it? And I said, well, absolutely. We have a ton of renters in our database. I said, but just in case you don't know, it's an amazing time to sell. So I told them about our $350,000 home that we put on the market, and 21 offers later, we got $395. I said, so our inventory is stupid low right now. You know, if you want to cash in your equity, now would be an amazing time. And he's like, okay, so how much could I get? So he owes nothing. I did the numbers. I did net sheets on several different price points and sent it over to him. And I'm like, I actually have a person that her lease is expiring in August and she wants to buy, and she would love a condo in Summerlin. So I said, I could probably get this for it, you know, and get it to appraise and da-da-da-da. And I said, would you be interested in that number? And he's like, well, send her over the pictures from the old listing and let me know what she says. So I'm at that point right now. I sent her over the listing, and so we'll see what she says, but another little matchmaker.
I love the matchmaker. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff.
Good share, good win. And I mean, it just shows you that even these drip campaigns, as boring and generic as they are, you know, they work.
Right.
It's better to have something in there. But you know, Wendy, when you say that's the boring 3-month email, what I always think is, well, what about all the personal touches you had in the beginning? And the, you know, because you went in there, customized the experience for the first week, added in some additional emails. So whatever they get later, they've already got to kind of and essentially meet you.
Right. Yep, I know. So that part is important, but you know, there's just no way we would be able to follow up like that on all of them the way the system does. So that's what I love.
And you have Follow-Up Boss and you have HomeBot. So for in case anybody wondering, she does that as well. And those naturally are touching on those people.
But the real secret is, and I haven't tried this in StreetText yet, but when it lets you search for things, whatever CRM you have, as long as you're tagging your leads. So when you put your leads in and you bring over from StreetText and you put it into whatever system you have, what you do is I put the type of buyer or seller, I put just whatever information, the zip code, all that, so that when it comes time to tag and match across that, the reverse of what I was doing at Wendy's is when I sit down for a listing presentation and I'm showing how many clients I have in the area, because I've got all the buyers tagged for zip code, city, whatever. When I hit that and pull that up, I'm showing the seller, look, this is the database I maintain. So you're already showing strength in numbers for what you have. So there's, like they say, there's many ways to use data, and you know what Wendy's doing, it works.
Yeah, I have a listing rocket report through Ylopo that is amazing. It's tied right to the database, and it'll tell you, you know, there's 27,000 people shopping on our website right now. We have 12,000 buyers in our database, and 250 match the search criteria that are looking for a home just like yours. So like, it's a full-on report that all I have to do is type in the address, bedrooms, price range, and it pulls this up out of our system. And then you can do a reverse, which pulls everybody up into a spreadsheet that you could reach out to, you know, because I tell them, I'm like, this is going to be the first email I send out as soon as you give me the green light, you know, and that usually gets them pretty excited, because if I find my own buyer, they save money, I make more money. It's a win-win. So
Win.
It's not a win, it's more of a question. So I know that Wendy, months ago, we discovered that we have the same person always clicking on an ad. I have another one. And the phone number is never answered. Emails are opened, but I don't think it's legit. And the person has submitted about 10 times. And
Did you say the emails have been opened or haven't been opened?
I think they have, but they were being opened on that whoever it was that you said, they were being opened there as well.
Aaron Park. I know. She came back too. I was like,
This is Joni something.
Oh,
One of those two.
that's a new
Well,
one.
just email support.
Okay.
And we can have them removed from seeing your ads. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, crazy stalkers. They'll be back to work soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then we can sell them the house.
Yeah.
Or at least sell the rental that they're living in that they haven't been paying rent on.
Stop.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
What I recommend doing, I mean, I'm sure everybody's doing this, right? Is when you go in and pull up tax records, cross-reference all that information you have, find that person's name, do your Google search, your LinkedIn search, your social media search, right? Make sure that you take notes. If you do find them and you've happened to find their social profile information, just grab that link and copy it and paste it. Because for you, you're wanting the process humanized, right? That's why you put BombBomb in there. That's why you do all that stuff, but you need to humanize it for yourself. So the more you can do that, you know, it's not necessarily saying go friend request and message everybody, even though, you know, some of us do. Humanize it as much as you possibly can. See what you can find, because it'll make it easier for you to go back to that lead, you know, 6 months, 9 months, a year down the road and see and make that connection. Because StreetText will pull in the email, and sometimes you'll see a picture. Sometimes you'll see a social profile pulled, but that has a lot to do with that public email being used for their social. So that's why you're not going to see it all the time, very, very rarely, because they have to have their email public, and it has to be associated to their social for that to happen. Robert, do you have a question?
I didn't think I was going to ask this, but then I realized, you know what, I probably should ask this. I'm actually, not to brag, I'm getting married. I'm going to be on my honeymoon. I'm going to be gone for 10 days, and I don't want to shut off the ad because it's still doing well. But obviously, I'm not going to be answering my phone. I mean, I can just leave the drip on, but none of my colleagues have BombBomb. You know, they really wouldn't know how to approach an email-only lead. Is there any advice on what to do, or should I just kill the ad and start fresh in 10 days?
Make a video saying you're getting married and let it be your automation, and just say, hey, I'm off on my honeymoon, but I promise you when I get back, you'll have the best home value possible.
I was going to suggest the exact same thing, and just people want to deal with real people, and it's a unique opportunity to allow somebody else into your own personal life and life experience and what you're currently doing. Hey, I'm eager to get you going and help you with whatever it is you're looking for. However, you know, happy me, I'm going to be away for, 10 days on my honeymoon. The second I'm back, I'm going to be going through everything and back to work and, working for you, all that stuff. I actually think that's a unique opportunity to address that.
All right.
And then just turn off the email that goes out that says, hey, you should have received your home update by now.
Yeah.
Turn that one off.
Yeah, I know. I need to actually look and see how quickly that one comes out.
Or it's 4 days later, but you could just take that as an opportunity to go in there and change it and say, hey, in case you get the first one, and you're looking for your home value, I'm on my honeymoon. I'll be back in a week.
Might just embed that video above the other video. I don't know.
It's super easy. So just remember, in your settings, under funnel settings, under automations, when you click edit, they're all there done sequentially. It shows you the time delays on the little hourglass. So all of those can be updated, changed. You literally just click on that particular email and it allows you to customize it, time delay things differently, add in additional emails. a lot of the automations have all the text messages on the bottom. And what I see a lot of my like agents do is they pause all the SMSs and they'll re-add them in after each email with a small time delay, because you can add actions after each email that you see. And a lot of people want to add their text options right after the email to point back to that email. It makes complete sense if you think about it, especially if that's where you want them to go. Does that make sense? Cool. Yeah. And remember, automations are just percentages. You just kind of like them there when you can't be, but never rely on them. And I've been harping this for a while now. Every single email, especially the first few emails that you're trying to get them to see, and that is automatically going out, can those as snippets if you're using BombBomb in your personal sends as well. It's almost best that you make it a habit of personally sending out that same email, maybe with a slightly different subject line and or question, just to ask if they got it. Because what you're talking about is the number of, let's just say, 50%. Let's just say 50% of that first email is open. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. What about all the people that are not getting it? And what about, it doesn't tell you much about if they actually watched the video or if they clicked on anything. So the best thing you can do is take that same email and make it your own by resending it personally, so you can control the stats and the tracking component of this, because that's going to be the most important thing about it. That makes sense? So if it gets unmanageable for you, that you're like, I got way too many leads, just turn down your ad budget and focus on just making a habit of that type of follow-up, so that you can start fresh with day one. Don't worry too much about going back. Just start making it a habit. I'd rather have someone give you some sort of feedback than nothing at all, because you don't want to be guessing, even if it's like, no, or whatever. At least you get something is better than getting nothing. And you can take it from there. Okay. More shares, more wins. Steve. Got to unmute yourself there, buddy.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I sent out a bunch of address only cards. So got first call yesterday from it, and it's it's a land assembly. So they're not listed right now. So I'm meeting with the lady on Monday, and I think she's one of the people that are, it's going to be 5 houses in a row kind of thing, where the builders buy all 5 houses, and it's kind of cool. So that was my share, just from just sending out postcards from the address only. So
wow,
see how that goes, but it's a potential opportunity.
What's the potential behind that? Just give me a little bit of number, like
probably 2 million each. So 5, so $10 million if we can get all 5 of them. So $10 million listing. So
he's in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's at 3%. So 10 times 3 is.
Keep us updated on that. I've heard some great stories of address onlys. You don't want to dismiss that one. What's your address only? What are you sending?
Just a postcard. Basically, you're one step away from your home evaluation.
Ooh, I like
and
that.
Then it's like dear home, right? So the lady actually just called me and said, I don't know if this is a scam or something like that. Got this sent to me. It was like, I never entered my address or anything. So it's like, I said, sometimes it's somebody in your family that's entered the address, or maybe one of your neighbors and stuff like that. But I just kept the conversation going. And then she got into, oh yeah, there's 5 houses in a row. We're in like the blue zone or whatever, the new construction zone that the city basically allotted for like mid-rise condos, right? So yeah,
I love that, Steve. Steve, if you don't mind, share that if you haven't already, share that to the group. We'd love to take a look at that.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Great share.
Yeah, and on that note, if you go into the StreetText Insider group talking about address onlys, Tommy, I was looking for him on here, but he did a good post about how he had 2 no emails come in over the weekend and how he used reverse lookup and MLS to find their information. And it landed him 2 listing appointments. And it just goes to show an address only is not somebody who isn't interested. They're just somebody who doesn't have that trust. They have more trust barriers. Like the interest is there. That's why they click. That's why they put their address in. So when we assume that, oh, they must not be interested because they didn't leave all their info. No, they might just be a little bit tech savvy and they understand, oh, I'm about to go into a funnel. Do I want to do this? So they don't do it. And then your ingenuity, your professionalism, your like, go get them when you reach out to them proves, hey, this person knows what they're doing. Hey, this person's going to represent me well. And I think there's lots of opportunity lost in those address onlys. And I always see it like you'll ask in the insider group, is the address onlys worth it? Well, if you think they're not worth it, they won't be. But if you put the strategy together, like who's it working for, who's like landing these and follow the lead of those people, they pay off. And this is the second time, Steve, I think you shared some success with address only mailers. So you have a consistency around that strategy. There's consistency and follow up.
Yeah, I just wait till I get like 100 emails or addresses, and then I just do a blast, right? Because it's like, it's not totally consistent. I just like, well, I guess if you call it waiting for 100 is consistent, right? So
yeah, it's a process. Like I've personally in my neighborhood in 2.5 months now, I've been counting them. I've been keeping them on my counters. I've received 27 address like mailers from real estate agents in my neighborhood. Like my kids know, we run to the mailbox and they're like, oh, another one. And we put them in the pile on the counter. And that's just agents blanketing our entire neighborhood. Nothing personal about it. Nothing looks different. They all look the same. They're hoping to land on somebody who's a homeowner. All those address only submissions are someone who clicked on something that asked them about the value of their home. They're warm. They're thinking about it. You now have the opportunity to look different than the 27 that are in my mailbox. Because the only people who stood out is the guy that knocked on my door. There was a guy that knocked on my door in the neighborhood and I remembered him. So it's really about like, even just handwriting on any of those would have made the 27 look different. Like people are canvassing these neighborhoods anyways with really expensive mailers. Now you can send something directly out, even just with handwriting, something personal, like put a sticker on it, like something that makes it look a little bit different. It makes you stand out. You're going to be different than the 27 in my mailbox. I'll keep counting for you. I'll keep you up to date.
100%. And don't forget, when you make an impression like that, Steve, and you talk to somebody that's a $10 million opportunity, send them some coffee. Follow up. Say, you know, hey, coffee on me whenever you're ready to talk further about this. With a little digital coffee card.
Yeah, I've got a meeting on Monday.
It worked.
What's that, Wendy?
I did it. Remember I asked you how to do it? Yeah, you do it right from your Starbucks app.
Isn't that
and
cool?
you can pick out all these different cards, like My Hero or anything like that is super cool. I mean, I used it for more than just StreetText, but I started using it for like agents that hooked me up my tenant.
If anyone wants to practice, feel free to use mark@streettext.com. I relax coffee too.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I mean, so again, that's that go-giver mentality. If you have a conversation with somebody, make an impression, or you're trying to make an impression, shock the world, right? Because no one's seen stuff like that. You know, most people haven't seen video emails, number one, and then you send them a coffee card digitally, and you know, it's not, you don't pay for it until it's redeemed or they actually get it. So a cool thing. Check it out. Everybody loves it. And you know, it doesn't matter if they're a coffee drinker or not. There's a lot of different options at Starbucks.
I think making that the second part. So, you know, starting with obviously people who've raised their hands saying, yeah, I'm interested in buying or selling my home in the market. That's really important. And then when you get that conversation, if you have an opportunity, whether it's through, what you're sending that's personal on the mailer, and then they get and they have a conversation with you, now identify, oh, does this person seem like they'd be a coffee drinker? Does this person seem like they would like XYZ? And then following up with those people with that gift, that's, I think, where you take it to that next level and you're being strategic with it. But also, we've talked about this in the past, but it's a great way is that you can find a local coffee shop, someplace that you absolutely love, and you can work out a deal with them where instead of having to pay for every single gift card that you're giving, you basically say, I will, open a tab for me, you send it out, but I'll pay for everybody that actually shows up at the coffee, at your coffee shop and uses it and redeems it. So now you can send 100 of those out, knowing that maybe 10 people will actually redeem it. But those 10 people that redeem it, they're going to really appreciate the gift, and you can show how it's personal. It's a coffee shop you love. You can write their story and why you love it. And that's a really, again, a strategic way of being able to make that gift go a lot further without having to dig deep and spend, $5 for every single person out there. And gifts go a long way.
100%.
And I was looking in StreetText, you can tag in that. So, for people who don't have like 10 billion monitors up at a time running multiple screens, the cool part is when you go in there, one of the things I've found that really works well for me, I'll get guys that come in and might put just their, they'll leave the phone number out, and I have an email and an address so I can match that to the house. But then I go in and I tag the items in there while I'm working in it. And you might want to sit there and take those few extra minutes while you're doing that, because it does let you get through the system much quicker. So whether it's a buyer or seller, even just write in StreetText, tag it.
Yeah. Another thought is with those address onlys, if you save them as contact, I know it pulls in the ad ID from it. So especially when you're doing split tests, you often want to learn about those contacts as fast as possible, because you're making decisions based on not just quantity but quality of areas that it's bringing you from, right? Because Facebook's algorithm, as we talked about, as you split test in that first 500 to 1,000 people are picking up on neighborhoods, they're picking up on like profiles. So get a feel for that. And if you're going to make an address only an opportunity like Steve, and then you want to go in there anyways and update that information, find the tax records, pull in as much information as you can, take notes. It's another thing I don't see a lot of people do consistently, and I think that has a lot to do with success. I find is take notes, reflect. How are you going to go back and check in with that person if you don't know where you left off? What that conversation was, or lack of conversation, or what you sent, I think it's really important that every contact you take notes. Don't be not a note taker. I promise you that taking notes is going to help you.
Yeah, so we see a direct correlation with taking notes and converting deals. And I don't know what it is, but it must be exactly what you're talking about, Marcus. It's sometimes it's easy to forget. You talk to 10, 15, 20 people in a week, and you think, oh, I'm going to remember this conversation. And then 4 weeks goes by and you pull up their name and you're like, what was it about them? But sometimes it's a really small detail, but you include that detail with the next conversation or the next text message. And it matters to the person that received it, because they remember, they feel like, yeah, you remembered my kid's birthday was coming up, or you remembered, you name it. You remember about my dog that was so special to me. And it's those little pieces of data can go a long way in building and forming that relationship.
Yeah. I also think reflection and recording is a lost art, because you just want to take notes, not just on your leads, but just on what's working, what's not working, when you have these moments of clarity or creativity, or or sometimes it's just insanity. You're seeing yourself doing the same thing over and over and you're not getting results, and you're figuring out, why am I not getting results? Take notes, reflect, right? Write it down. Because when something happens that's good, you want to make sure you do that same thing over and over.
I think one of the things I've talked about a lot is like the human attention span is actually sunk below that of a goldfish. Like scientifically, we have the attention span of less than a goldfish. These are the humans you're dealing with every single day. So what we forget is that your memorable like address only card triggered me to remember you, but I haven't told you yet. I haven't told you because it's not time for me to sell, but I'm now remembering you. And I'm remembering you when I open your emails. I'm remembering you when I see my Facebook feed, when that automated email goes out. And so then what you do is you second guess a strategy that you've like put into place because you're not getting that immediate feedback on it, not realizing that you grabbed some goldfish's attention like 3 months ago. You just haven't heard about it yet. And it's always about consistent strategy applied small over time that multiplies your success. So it's like before you decide that a strategy is not working for you, you got to carry it through. For most of us, it's that consistency, it's that second guessing, it's that. And like you look, I joke, Allison, what was it, about a month ago, jumped on here and she's like, I haven't touched anything. Like, and she just listed her 7th property with StreetText in a year. She said StreetText is kind of like just one of my avenues. I have several, haven't touched any of my emails. She hasn't touched any of them. They're exactly the default ones that we set out. She hasn't touched her ads. Her ad sucks. I looked at it. It's not great. She could do way better in her area, but she's been consistent with every single lead that comes in. She has not turned that ad off. She's always sent the CMA and followed up. She's always looked for a unique way to work with that person. And even if she did that initially and the person didn't initially reach out to her, those automations that aren't that great and aren't her personality, because she triggered that response at the beginning, she's remembered. And that's why they're picking up the phone 6 months later saying, hey, now's the time. So it's that consistent small effort over time that it pays off. And sometimes we don't get that immediate gratification. So we just keep changing our strategy. And it's just important to be consistent with whatever it is that you're comfortable with being consistent.
Sorry, I missed the first part of that. So she calls them or she emails them? What is her consistent strategy?
Depending on what, I'll post her mastermind here. She shared it all. Depending on what information she gets, she'll work with that lead, but she always sends them a CMA. She always replies to that initial home value request and follows up with it. She hasn't done all the other crazy stuff. It's sitting the way it is, but because she did something memorable at the beginning, those other messages mean more. You have my attention now. I'll open them. I'll notice them. I'll look at them, and you're now front of mind. We call it occupying that real estate influence part of people's brains. How do you get into that part of their brain so they think you? And she's just obviously doing that well. I'll post her. I'll post it here in the group for you.
Thanks, Ira.
Can you guys hear me better with the AirPods in? Yes, better. Deborah said she couldn't hear me as well. So yeah, I mean, hey, there's so many ways to do it. So many ways to do it. You got to pick your way and you can have fun with it. You know, Wendy and Jennifer and I and, some other people, we love Facebook. Like we want everybody to Facebook us. We want them to meet us on Facebook. We want them to get to know us on Facebook. We're going to push our Facebook, and some of us like push Messenger and push our profile. But if that's not you, that's okay. It's totally okay. But just remember, you want to be where they are. And everybody's on Facebook. Everybody's on social. They're sitting there on their phones all the time. It's too much time. We all know they're wasting far too much time. It's an addiction, but you have to feed into that. And so part of why I recognize that everybody should be trying to reach out that way, or at least give them, it doesn't mean you have to friend them, but invite them to see you and get to know you and see that world, because that's where they're going to be sitting. So if you can find a way to be in that feed all the time, you're going to have a way more opportunities to develop that relationship. And they get to really just find out about you, right? When I go to the first email that Wendy sends and she says, hey, this is my personal Facebook, immediately I go to her Facebook and I know a lot about Wendy, not just Wendy the realtor, but Wendy, loving Jeeps and, doing yoga and doing her 21-day sugar detox and, all these other things that she does. But that for me is the relatable component that is human. That I feel like when you're developing a relationship with someone that doesn't know you and they're trying to figure out if this is somebody they'd want to actually get to know, let alone professionally represent their home and sell their home, you kind of have to think about that psychology. Whether you want to or not, you got to think about that psychology. So you're trying to do everything you possibly can to let them see that part of your world and be okay with not being a fit for some people, because it's better just to put it out there now than them figure out that you're a conservative later, or a liberal or whatever it is. That so you got to just be okay right now with who you are and build that tribe around it. And I think that's what you're looking for anyway, is to build that community, is to build that tribe. So just remember, we are in the day and age of the influencer, and social media is a tool to influence more people, especially considering you are influencing 15 miles as a minimum.
Absolutely.
Encourage you on that.
Absolutely.
I have a quick question on I have gotten really, really good leads lately, and my cost is really low. But I have a question, because when I go to automations, I notice that it says I have 423 contacts, but in automation, there's only 219. How does that happen?
People unsubscribe.
Do you or also
Only
do you have
three.
buyers
Sorry?
ads running?
I have an ad running, yes.
Do you have buyers ads, or have you in the past run buyers ads or lead ads?
Once only, and I had 28 of those.
Have you done any advertising of your own listings kind of ads as well, like anything that would be considered a lead ad? Most
I don't
likely.
recall. Not through StreetText, no.
We'll look into that, Lisa. We'll have support look into it and kind of give you some more clarity. I'm sure it's something that we can figure out.
That would be my assumption right off the top, is that there's a few of our ad funnel types that don't come complete with automations right from the get-go. So if you have leads coming through something other than the typical seller's property valuation style, they won't be put into an automation automatically unless you've set something up. So that might be what explains that. But yeah, what Marcus said, we'll definitely have a look.
What if you
valuation though? At least that's what it's showing, that they're all through home valuation. And so
what if the campaign stopped though? If the campaign stops, do they still show an automation, Jonathan?
No, they don't.
That's what
So
I was wondering.
once they've reached the 9 months, then they show that they're no longer in automation.
Yeah, I'm only 6 months in.
Oh, but I'm saying so depending, Lisa, on the campaign you're running. Like I changed all mine to go over to the 9 months, and then either Stephen or Johnson told me you can add more tasks and actions and triggers on the back of that one. But at the end of whatever campaign you're running, if you only ran a 90-day campaign or 6-month campaign, as soon as the campaign ended, they're in your system, but they're no longer in automation because they won't receive anything else.
Yeah, not sure how that works, but.
Does automation stop when somebody responds to you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Only on the text message side. So if they reply to the text messaging stops. If they reply to an email, we don't have a way currently to actually detect that. But you can, if you turn off the automation for the individual, that will take them out of the automation. If they've unsubscribed, they're no longer in the automation as well. So those are all triggers that will turn that off.
Okay, thank you.
How many are using the Make It Big app? Yeah, very awesome, right? So, everything you put on there is basically an opportunity to be like the fun little experiment billboard, because remember, the first thing they see when they go back to their email. So my thoughts for you is that automation email that you're putting in there, couldn't it be something about that Facebook ad they just clicked on? Because let's assume that everybody who clicks on that ad is thinking they're getting an instant market value when they go back to the inbox. So I want you to creatively think in your mind, what would be something that you'd want to see? regarding your Facebook home valuation request. Because they're going back there looking for their home value. So you have this immediate moment where you can put that front and center. And remember, you can do it with the GIF where they see it and then you pull back and there you are. So that can be a part of that first 3 seconds is they see it and then they pull back and see somebody. Now they are interested. So leave it there for like a second, maybe a second and a half, pull back before they even click on that video. Practice, because this is a great opportunity and you should be using it with every personal touch too, putting that person's name on it. Everybody wants to see their name and hear their name, see their name and hear their name. So when you have John on here, John, right? Like let them see you saying their name as well as them, reading their name. That's going to give you a lot bigger opportunity. All you're looking for is that first, you just want to get your foot in the door. You just want to get them to open it. Because if you can get them to open it, now it's just all about the authentic connection. And you just allow your personality to shine. So you're only going to do that with practice. And I get everybody's looking for the perfect script, but there really isn't one. Because it's you, it's your personality. It's what you'd want to, the way I look at it is this way, is you get to create the narrative. All they think when they get to that place is that they're getting a home value. So what is your home value process? What would you like to do for them? And how can you communicate what they thought, hey, you probably thought this was an instant market value. Most people do when they click on my ad, but here I'm here to tell you that the experience I'm about to give you is going to be way more in tune to the true market. And it's something that I'm going to actually create just for you. But it's your way of saying that. So opportunity is massive. You just got to figure out what you want to say to that person. And then you got to always create empathy. Remember in that BombBomb webinar, we learned that the first thing you want to create is empathy. The first thing you want to do is acknowledge, like have empathy. Like you probably thought this was an instant market value, and I'm sure you're, or whatever that was. That's the empathy. They're like, oh, I feel bait and switched in that moment they open and hear to you. Use that moment for empathy, and then you go for the value, and then you leave with the ask. I think that was the 3 components, was it not, Brandon? Correct me if I'm wrong. Empathy, value, ask. Juan, was that it? Do you remember from the BombBomb webinar? I have my notes somewhere. I did a summary on that.
I believe that's what it was. I have to.
But and then also you have 20 seconds. They said there's a sweet spot between 20 and 45 seconds. So do not let your video be longer than a minute in the beginning. Keep it short and sweet. You can, as you gain some trust and get some feedback, now is your chance to go longer. But don't do a long video in the beginning. The video needs to be short and sweet, to the point, letting them know what you're going to do. That's it.
Yeah. So the key there is it's a series of problems, so to speak. Like the first problem is, how do you get more responses? The second problem is, okay, now you've got a response. You want to have a conversation. And then the third problem is, now that you've had a conversation, you want to have an appointment. And the key in all of those is that there's a different method for each of them. It's the same thing when you're creating an ad. Like your very first ad that you're advertising isn't there to convince that person to give you all their information. The ad is there to convince them to click the button to land on the landing page. That's what the ad is there for. So it's like, here's the offer, click the button, land on the landing page. When they get on the landing page is there to convince the person to fill out the form. The form is there to convince them to complete the submission. So it's like, know the steps in order. It's the same thing when you're sending emails. The whole point of the initial responses is to get a response back, is to get a reply. And it's not to sell yourself. It's not to do the entire process. It's just to get a response. And so the really, really effective emails and messages that get high response rates is when they have subject lines like quick question. And then you open the email and there's a quick question, like a really short, brief question, because the point of that isn't to, even necessarily give them the full CMA. It's just quick question, received your request. Did your home, I can't see, have you had any upgrades or recent updates? You know, quick question. So just you send those emails as part of your follow-up. That's going to increase your response rate. When you get that response, definitely acknowledge that you got that response. Acknowledge it right away. Thank you so much for your response. This is going to help me out. I'll send you a report. Send the report, follow up with a quick question, you know, subject line, quick question, again, because you're trying to create a conversation. So the key there of this is number one is you want to have a conversation. Number two is when you do have a conversation, like, hey, you know what, could I just talk to you on the phone? This would be a lot easier. So get them on the phone. The whole point on being on the phone, and this is really, really key, is did they feel heard, or are you trying to be heard? Did they feel heard, or are you trying to be heard? Because you want to make sure that when you're on that phone and when you have a conversation with them, they leave feeling heard, and then they will have heard you. And this is really, really, really key. Like, so if you want to have more appointments and you're getting responses, but you're not getting more appointments, the reason is because they're not feeling heard. That's it. If they feel heard, they will have more appointments with you. Then when you go to the appointment, what's your win rate of that appointment? Does that, like, when you're at the appointment and you're walking around the house, and does that person feel, again, do they feel heard? Do they feel acknowledged? Do they feel like their needs are being addressed? That's the most important thing. When you're there, like, yeah, you're going to be assessing their home value, and you're going to be professional, and you're going to come dressed to impress. You're going to be dressed up to, you know, you have a specific, you know, brand and image that you represent, a certain level of quality. And so you come that way, prepared that way, and you make sure that's consistent with all your messaging. But then when you show up, again, the number one thing is, do they feel acknowledged? Do they feel heard? Because if they feel like you have their best interest at heart, they will work with you every single day of the week. There's no other agent that can try to come in there. They can't, like, if someone says, oh, I can sell this home for more money, or I can do this, then they'll say, oh no, I'm going to work with Wendy because I know she's got my best interest at heart. I'm just going to ask if we can put it on the market for a little bit more. Or I'm going to work with Lisa because I know she's got my best interest at heart because, you know, she's built so much trust with me. I'm going to work with Leon. Like, that's the key, is that no matter it's never like the decision for the person to work with you is always coming down to a really simple equation in their mind, is, does this person have my best interest in their heart? And if you are coming with a place of service and you're really making sure that they feel heard and acknowledged, you'll win, you know, every single one of your appointments. So the key there is knowing what is the question that a person's going to have, and then making sure that your emails, like when you send an email, you don't want to be trying to solve the problem of an appointment. You want to solve the problem of get a response. And when you get a response, you don't want to be solving the problem of appointment. You want to solve the problem of get a conversation. And when you get a conversation, again, so it's like you want to make sure they feel heard. So each of these are steps, but knowing what step is you're trying to solve will help you with how you're crafting and writing those messages. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And instead of creating problems, create opportunities.
Yes. Yeah.
So we go back
every change is an opportunity.
Logan's baseball analogy, I always say base hit, score runs. You don't try to hit the home run out of the park. You just bat your way around the base. The end goal is to get across home plate. You don't have to do it all in one swing.
Yeah, or, you know, at least get a foul tip.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be Casey at the bat, strike out.
Don't go for the home run. Like, your problem, if you're going for the home run, which is the listing appointment, that's why you're failing. You're going for the, you know, the foul tip in the beginning, which is just getting anything, let alone an open and reply. That's your number one. For me, it's when you're working with StreetText, your entire objective for the first 90 days is how many conversations can you create. It's not how many listing appointments you can go on. It's how many conversations you can create. If you really make that your focus, your goals, like conversation. Doesn't matter if it's simple binary yes or no conversations. Conversation. All I'm going to do is get conversation started. I promise you that'll lead you farther than anybody.
We should do something fun. We should do a board, like for everybody in here. where we can track our weekly conversations. And then at the end of the week, it's the next week is meet or beat. So it's a win is if you meet how many conversations you had the week before or beat it. And because
You got to
consistency,
put it in the dashboard, John. You got to put a section in the dashboard that says has conversation, so we can actually track it, and they can track it with their leads. And if they had a conversation, they gets them a little dopamine hit, like,
yeah,
congratulations.
And then we could see, but remember, a win is consistency. So it's not always about beating. Like sometimes we think, oh, we got to be better than. No, just keep consistent. That's a win. That's really important. So it's a meet or beat.
Yeah, just remember what type of leads you're working with. This is the pipeline builder. This is, these are not the leads most of the time that are ready to transact today. They are the leads that if you cultivate and nurture a year from now, you're going to be doing double-digit transactions. Like for anybody that's been with us longer than a year, those are the success stories you hear. Like you can hear, some random success stories, but when you're talking about great successes, you're seeing the consistency of their follow-up really produce fruit over the long run, especially with seller leads. So it's not your next 90-day or 180-day fix. I just want to reiterate that. I've talked to so many agents. I've been here over 6 years now with StreetText, and I can't tell you how many times agents have come back after they've stopped. Let's say they did a 3-month or even a 6-month. We vet their leads together, and they're bummed out to see how many of their leads went with other agents based on their lack of follow-up, or at least staying. Now, it could be not even just a lack of follow-up. It could be like you just didn't do anything to create an impression or relationship with that person. So the next realtor did. So all you're looking to do is to develop that model so that no matter what happens in the long run, they're going to think about you. Cool. All right, it's the top of the hour. Any last second shares, wins, asks, questions, anything?
Real quick, what type of images are people having success with in terms of responses to ads?
Ooh, I can show a whole bunch. Here, I'll share a couple of examples for you guys. So load it up here. Imagery that works best, it always comes down to creating familiarity. So whatever your market is, try to create familiarity with that. One of the reasons why the map works really well is that when you see a map of an area that you live in, it's familiar to you. And so you can use, we recommend the What's Your Home Really Worth ad. And then you can use imagery such as this, a typical neighborhood in your market that could create that familiarity. You look at that and go, oh, okay, well, I live in a neighborhood like that. Even aerial photography of your city or your typical neighborhood, in there. There's landmarks in here that are familiar to you. There's, city lines, there's, in this case, City Hall, mountains in the background. So anybody who lives here in this city in Utah would recognize it and be like, oh, I live there. The other thing too is to make sure that it doesn't look like a stock photo, because when your ad screams, I'm an ad, looks like an ad, people are just going to ignore it, right? We've gotten really good at seeing ads and immediately recognizing them subconsciously, going, hey, that's an ad, and we just scroll on by. What we want to do is stop that scroll. So we create that familiarity. If it looks a little bit more like a native post, so maybe it's not a professional photo, maybe it's a little bit grainy, and some of the examples I have in here kind of highlight that a little bit. It's going to stop that scroll. Welcome to signs work very well because they're familiar to people in that area. They also have the name of the city on them, right? This one worked very well. Brampton is actually in Ontario, and I think Mohini, you're here. This is your ad, and this one did very well. It's a really tough market. But this, again, the street would be familiar to people. We've got the city name in there, this nice banner, the Flower City. It's a little bit seasonal, right? So you might want to change it up come winter because it's no longer the Flower City in winter. But definitely with that familiarity, it worked very, very well. Landmarks work well. So we got Hollywood sign here. We've got Griffith Observatory, right? Anybody in the area is immediately going to recognize that. And you can see it's not even, this is not a stock photo for sure. This is like, taken with an iPhone. Not super great. Another landmark. Anybody in the area of Clinton would immediately recognize this clock. Again, taken at kind of at dusk, with a phone and slightly grainy, but it's familiar to people. Kind of a little bit next level if you wanted to do. Like this is Jennifer. She did this one, typical street in Raleigh, right? Matches the architectural style, but this one I would say skews a little bit more towards, hey, I'm an ad, but it creates that curiosity with these little price points above, right? People are like, oh, what's that all about? One of my clients took it to an extreme as far as, taking to heart aerial photography. So he dragged out his drone, went and took a photo here. Wendy would probably recognize this. This is the Vegas area, but and did a little bit of like photo work here and just kind of highlight some houses and put some little question marks above it. But this creates curiosity, right? So, what's this image talking about? And then you read the copy, what's your home really worth? And it worked very well. So imagery like that, or you could even use, we've been talking about Google Earth. So you could use Google Earth, zoom in the town, you can do the 3D view, you can even spin how the look of the town, how you want it, you can add roads in, you can do all sorts of different things. And you'll find, you try those different things out because it's going to be familiar. You're going to see that view. People who live in your area would be like, oh, okay. Like, the example I did was of Kelowna, right? So everybody living in Kelowna recognizes the Knox Mountain. They recognize the downtown area. They recognize the lake. They recognize the bridge. Those are all familiar. If Leon was looking at that, he'd be like, I have no clue where that is. So it's not familiar, and he would just scroll on by. So creating that familiarity is what's going to help stop that scroll, help them then read that copy, and then they're going to be piqued with that curiosity of what's your home really worth? Well, I would love to know what my home is really worth. So Jassa or somebody's just said here, like a town water tower with a name on it. I've seen water towers do phenomenally well. Most of the people that have done a water tower, I've not seen one that hasn't done that well. So I guess water towers are a thing, but definitely it's something that stands out.
If I can add something that real quick, just as the kind of what to avoid as well, because everything that you said is bang on from what I've seen as well. Water towers are that one thing where it's a landmark by itself that does represent the community well enough that it's eye-catching and seems to work. However, typically, when the focus is on the landmark specifically, it can then look like an ad. So if you're in Vegas, a picture of the Strip. Well, the Strip has been used for ads for many a year, I would certainly say. So when you see that, you say, well, there's an ad about a casino or the lifestyle or tourism, but it looks like an ad. If it's the Golden Gate Bridge, same thing. If it's the bridge itself, well, that could be utilized as an ad. But if it's the bridge from a distance as an aerial view with, the Bay Area with homes in the background and a little mist coming over or something, it's like, oh, that's an interesting photo. It's of my area and it's representative of the location. The location needs to be the star. That's the idea. The landmarks need to be part of the location, right? But it's not an ad for condos or commercial. It's residential real estate. That's what we're looking at, right? So keep that focus in mind and just, again, make it instantly recognizable. And exactly like Troy said, you need to stop the scroll. We say it a million times. People are whipping through. They have to be instantly, familiarized with that photo, and it can't look like an ad. That's absolutely what.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of different ones. Like, we have desert shores, so I took pictures of the lakes with the houses around it, and that didn't do well at all. We have, Lake Las Vegas. So I did a picture of that, with Lake Las Vegas, everything, and that didn't do well. I did a dog park in my area that I absolutely love. That looks really cool from an aerial view. And that didn't do good. I mean, the best one is the Strip. I mean, I don't know why. I would rather click on a dog park picture, but apparently not everybody cares about dogs.
And it's still a matter of test, right? Because, I've done the same thing where I'll use a particular image where I know it's going to work and it doesn't work. And I'm sitting there going like, that should work. I tested it again. It doesn't work again. And I'm like, okay, well, got to try something else. Well, just one more time for giggles. Let's do it one last time. And all three of the three ads in the split test blow up. It's like, oh, okay, well, so, right. I mean, and again, it's always being, understanding we're testing the audience more than anything else, and utilizing imagery that reflects that, the type of people we're looking to find. That should work. So I'll work with you on that as well, Wendy. We'll get you something going.
Yeah, the original one with the map, just the regular map, that one worked the best. But I think we have so many of those running in Las Vegas that people are sick of the map. So
because that's the idea, right? I mean, the reason the map has always worked so well is it doesn't look like an ad. It's like, oh, that's familiar to me. That's cool. I better pay attention. Now it's like, oh, there's that ad again.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to get back to that same first kind of sentiment, that same first feeling of, oh, I recognize it. That's a cool photo. I've never seen that before. What's this? So it's just it's continuously changing and trying new images until you find the one that works. And I always equate this stage to a series of short sprints, right? You're not running a marathon until it's proven, right? Once you've tested something well and it works, now you sit back and let that thing go.
And there's one other thing I'll add on this too, which is you have the average number of times a person needs to see a iconic brand logo is something like 14 times before they take action. So sometimes we feel like things are more saturated than they are. But the person who's viewing it, it might be the third time they've seen that ad, and they're about to be ready to get their home value. So it's like, oh, you know what? This is familiar enough that I'm going to take action. Because if you think about the market, this is true of every single market in the world. So like when people are thinking about selling their homes, you're going to have those sort of trendsetters, the early majority, or the early adopters, the early majority, then the majority, and then the late majority. The bulk of the market is going to be in the majority and the late majority. But the majority and the late majority, they're not early adopters. Like my guess is that everybody here in this mastermind, you're all an early adopter personality, or you're a trendsetter. Like you take action, you just jump on the next, like you're probably an early adopter personality. But for the majority of people, they need to see things a lot of times to form a trust to give it a try. And so with marketing, part of marketing is about that consistency. It's just being there consistently. And then your brand becomes more and more like aware. And then there's that, okay, you know what? I'm willing to give this a click. I'm willing to put my information in. I've seen this a few times. It can't be, it's probably good because, my brain is telling me I've seen it. So I know it's more familiar. And that's why the familiarity works so well within this advertising as well. The other thing I was thinking is, Wendy, you should give this a try. It would be fun, but it'd be completely different. So if you launch an ad on StreetText, and then you go to the Facebook ads manager, you can actually change the creative type. So you can take it from an image and you can change it and you can upload your own video. What would be fun for you would be go to part of Vegas that is relatively like recognizable, but maybe has a varying price range. So you could stand there and film yourself and be like, hey, check this building over here. That building's worth about X amount. That one's worth about there. In Vegas, everything's changing so fast. What's your home worth? And then so you're introducing yourself, but you're introducing the problem about how hard it is to know what the home value is worth at the same time. And then keeping it short, 30 seconds or less. But that way you can have a video running as an ad in Vegas. And I'd be just curious to see what that result would be in a place like Vegas, because the other kind of ad type that works really well on Facebook is actually seeing a face, seeing a person who's talking, because Facebook, you're there to connect with people, for familiarity, and you're there for entertainment. So if you can hit on any one of those three things, it's generally a win.
Yeah. I thought about the, welcome to Vegas sign, but there's just always so many people there.
Hey, Wendy.
I to drive my Jeep up on there and park by the welcome to Vegas sign and use that as an ad, but like there's always like 100 people at that sign, like no matter what time of the day. It's so
go to Fremont.
With your LV Suite Homes like logo and stuff like that, right next to the sign, because you can get a stock image of that sign and it can look like an ad for tourism or something like that. But the second you enter yourself and your brand, which is kind of the Jeep kind of identity, that does make it, a lot more resonant in terms of who you are and the service you're offering. You're selling LV Suite Homes to that area. I think that would be a really nice mix up.
Okay.
Tie the zip line in. Go down there and say, "Homes might not moving quite this fast," but and that would be cool because the
Don't
zip
go near
line's popular
Fremont
to
Street.
tourist things.
It's
Guys, hold
crazy.
on. What's your homework now?
So what
You
about,
can play it in
since
reverse
everybody,
as home prices are soaring, right?
hey, Logan, since we're on the subject of maps, what about just using Google Earth and doing, you know, the snapshot or the screenshot of Google Earth and then uploading that image into the What's Your Home Realtor with funnel? So which everybody's like, well, I'm seeing everybody do the map, so do a different map, right? Like if it's a different map, if you do a different view, and Google Earth is going to give you different options to create views that you want it to show. So then all you're doing is you're figuring out what view you want to show, take the screenshot, throw it on your computer, upload into the funnel, and now you've got a different map view.
Okay, I'll try that. I'll try the other one too. I'm pretty good at like.
Because I always go back, well, what works? The maps always work. So yes, it is a saturated picture, but it just shows you, it still works. It doesn't matter when you're the typical Facebook user, you don't care what you're seeing. It's just local imagery or familiarity that's grabbing their attention. So it works. Doesn't matter how many agents are using, it's going to work. So just change it up just a little bit to see if that little change kind of puts you in the driver's seat now.
All right.
And then get back to me and tell me how it worked. Cool. All right, guys, we'll let you go. It's 10:15. So remember, always leave this mastermind with just one takeaway. Doesn't have to be 10 takeaways, just one. What is the one thing you're going to take away from this mastermind today to do after you get off of here? Write it down and hold yourself accountable and tell us what you did with that one thing. It could be just one. It doesn't have to be 10, just one. So that every mastermind, we're building just one thing, because at the end of the, how many weeks, how many masterminds do we have, John, in a year?
I don't know. We well over 50.
Well, I mean, so let's just say you get 30 new things that you take away if you pull one every mastermind. Hope that equates to a few deals.
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's true. And so I just want to say I really appreciate you all. And it's true when we say this, but it's true. Like, the world needs you. Remember that. There are people that actually need your service this very second. They're waking up right now in your city and they're thinking to themselves, who can help me sell my home right now? Who can help me buy a home right now in the market? They need you. And so remember that, like, there's right now at this very second, there's people that you've already generated that are in that list who are thinking, who can I work with at this second? So go out there and you're doing a really good thing. I know it sounds funny, but it's true. You're doing a really good thing. People really need you. And it's a big, big life decision, a huge life decision. And it's scary. And for a lot of people, it's scary right now because the market is so hot. They're afraid that if they sell their home, what are they going to buy? And so they need somebody who has their best interest at heart, who can navigate them through this journey and show them a path that makes sense. And so, yeah, go out there and rock this world and be the game-changing agent that you are.
Yeah, I'll leave you with in the chat feature, I just threw down the new Getting Started course. It's like we kind of moved away from the StreetText Academy, and this is the new one. So sometimes it's nice to get back to the fundamentals. Even if you're an old veteran, get back to the fundamentals. Maybe something you can go back to, like, oh shoot, I didn't know I could do this, because you're so used to doing it, you're away from a year ago. So go back to this Getting Started guide, Academy/Thinkific. We're kind of moving everything to Thinkific. Troy has headed this project, so it's updated, it's good. There's a lot of stuff in there. Click on here, see if that can help you kind of build the foundation. You always got to build the foundation first. Make sure you know. Okay. See you guys later. Have a great week.
Yeah. Thank you.